What happens when America's sweetheart meets one of daytime television's most notorious provocateurs? You won't believe what unfolds when Julia Roberts sits down with Joy Behar on The View, and what starts as casual conversation quickly spirals into one of the most explosive confrontations in talk show history. The tension was palpable from the moment Roberts walked onto that stage, but nobody could have predicted the verbal warfare that was about to erupt. Before we get into this incredible story, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below, because you're not going to believe what unfolds. The atmosphere in the View studio felt different from the moment Julia Roberts made her entrance. While the audience erupted in their usual warm applause for the pretty woman star, there was an unmistakable tension crackling through the air. Roberts, promoting her latest environmental documentary, settled into the guest chair with her trademark smile, but those who know her well could detect something guarded in her demeanor. Joy Behar wasted no time diving into what she clearly saw as controversial territory. "Julia, your new documentary really takes aim at corporate America," Behar began, her voice carrying that familiar edge that regular viewers know all too well. "But some critics are saying you're being hypocritical, considering you've made millions working with major studios that have their own environmental issues." Robert's smile faltered for just a moment before she composed herself. "Joy, I think that's a rather simplistic way to look at activism. We all live in an imperfect system, but that doesn't mean we can't work toward change from within." The other co-hosts shifted uncomfortably as Behar leaned forward, clearly sensing an opportunity to push harder. "But isn't it convenient activism? You get paid millions to make movies, travel in private jets, live in multiple mansions, and then lecture regular people about their carbon footprints?" The studio audience grew quiet, sensing the conversation had taken a sharp turn from the typical celebrity promotion tour. Robert's jaw tightened visibly as she maintained her composure. "I'm not lecturing anyone, Joy. I'm using my platform to bring attention to issues that affect all of us. And frankly, I'm surprised you're taking such a hostile approach to environmental awareness." Behar's eyes lit up at the word hostile, clearly relishing the pushback. "Hostile? I'm just asking the questions that viewers at home are thinking. You've been in Hollywood for decades, benefiting from an industry that's hardly environmentally conscious, and now you want to be the poster child for saving the planet?" Roberts straightened in her chair, her voice growing colder. "You know what, Joy? I've been doing environmental work long before it was trendy. I've been quietly supporting conservation efforts for years, without needing to broadcast every charitable donation or eco-friendly choice I make." The tension was becoming unbearable as Behar prepared to deliver what would prove to be the point of no return. Behar's voice dropped to that calculated tone that longtime viewers recognize as her most dangerous weapon. "Well, Julia, since we're talking about authenticity, let's discuss your recent divorce proceedings. Court documents show you're fighting tooth and nail to keep multiple properties, including that Malibu estate that uses more water in a month than most families use in a year. How exactly does that align with your environmental message?" The studio went dead silent. Even the camera operators seemed to freeze as Robert's face transformed from polite annoyance to genuine shock. "Excuse me?" she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "My personal life and my divorce have absolutely nothing to do with environmental advocacy." But Behar was just getting warmed up, clearly savoring the moment. "Doesn't it, though? You're asking regular Americans to make sacrifices while you're literally fighting in court to maintain a lifestyle that's the antithesis of everything you claim to stand for. The hypocrisy is staggering." Robert's hands visibly trembled as she gripped the arms of her chair. "Joy, you're crossing a line here. My divorce is a private family matter that involves my children, and I will not sit here and let you exploit it for ratings." The other co-hosts looked mortified, but Behar pressed on relentlessly. "This isn't exploitation. This is journalism. You came on this show to promote your documentary about corporate responsibility, But you can't handle questions about your own responsibility? Roberts stood up abruptly, her chair rolling backward. This isn't journalism, Joy. This is tabloid garbage disguised as legitimate discourse. You're using my family's pain as entertainment, and I won't be part of it. Behar leaned back with a satisfied smirk. So, when the questions get tough, Julia Roberts runs away? That's not very environmentally conscious of you, all that wasted energy walking off set. The cruel joke was the final straw. Roberts whirled around, her eyes blazing with fury. You want tough questions, Joy? Let's talk about your track record of attacking women who don't fit your narrow worldview. Let's discuss how you've built a career on tearing down other women, while hiding behind the guise of feminist commentary. The studio erupted in gasps as Roberts continued, her voice rising with each word. You sit here day after day, claiming to champion women's rights, but the moment a woman disagrees with you, or doesn't conform to your expectations, you destroy them. You're not a feminist, Joy. You're a bully with a platform. Behar's smirk vanished as the confrontation reached its explosive climax. For the first time in years, Joy Behar was rendered speechless. The color drained from her face as Robert's words hung in the air like smoke after an explosion. The other co-hosts sat frozen, their eyes darting between the two women locked in this unprecedented battle of wills. But Roberts wasn't finished. Her voice, now steady and controlled, carried the weight of years of frustration. You know what the real tragedy is, Joy? You had the power to use this platform to lift women up, to create meaningful dialogue about important issues. Instead, you chose to become exactly what you claim to oppose, someone who uses their influence to tear others down. Behar finally found her voice, but it came out strained and defensive. How dare you lecture me about feminism? I've been fighting for women's rights since before you were making romantic comedies. Roberts let out a bitter laugh. Fighting for women's rights? By ambushing guests with personal attacks? By using divorce proceedings as ammunition? That's not feminism, Joy. That's voyeurism, disguised as activism. The studio audience had gone from shocked silence to audible murmurs of agreement. Several people in the front rows nodded visibly as Roberts continued her devastating takedown. You want to know about environmental responsibility? Roberts' voice grew stronger with each word. How about we talk about the toxic environment you create, right here on this set? The way you poison every conversation with your cynicism and cruelty. Behar tried to regain control, raising her voice desperately. This is my show, Julia. If you don't like the questions, then maybe you shouldn't have agreed to come on. Roberts gathered her purse and stood tall, her dignity intact despite the verbal warfare. You're absolutely right, Joy. This is your show, and you've shown everyone exactly what kind of person you really are. But I don't have to be part of your circus anymore. The cameras captured every moment as Roberts began walking toward the exit, her heels clicking against the studio floor with determined precision. Behar, realizing she was losing control of the situation, made one final desperate attempt to maintain her authority. Walk away then, Julia. Just like you walked away from your marriage when things got complicated. Roberts stopped dead in her tracks. The entire studio held its breath as she slowly turned around, her eyes blazing with righteous fury. My marriage ended because sometimes people grow apart. But what's happening here right now? This is exactly why daytime television has become a wasteland of manufactured controversy and fake outrage. She took a step closer to Behar, her voice dropping to a dangerous whisper that somehow carried to every corner of the studio. You've just shown millions of viewers that you value sensationalism over substance, cruelty over compassion. Congratulations, Joy. You've destroyed whatever credibility you had left. With that final devastating blow, Julia Roberts turned and walked off, the view set, leaving behind a stunned audience and a humiliated host who had finally met her match. The cameras continued rolling as Behar sat speechless, her empire of manufactured outrage crumbling around her in real time.